in this video, the question is, should Inostroza have got a penalty for this? Or should Koke have got a big penalty for this? Hello everyone, and welcome to this video where we're going to look at what happened in that Nations Cup final. The World Finals obviously happened in Monaco this weekend, and it was controversial once again in Monaco. It seems to always be controversial in Monaco. If you remember last time, I was involved in the controversy back in 2019 on that final lap in the Audi.
Audi onto the podium and down in towards the corner we go. Look at Audi on the inside out for a We're looking aggressive. Chevrolet braking very late in.
Go. Yes, come on. Bloody hell! No!
The last lap of the Manufacturer Series Grand Final.
I got injured.
So what we're going to do is, because I know the feeling that Miyazono felt, we're going to actually look at the last lap. Were the stewards right not to give any penalties? What would we have done if we were a steward? You know, I've done marshalling before. I've done stewarding before in terms of our community championship. And we're going to look at all the different things that happened and see if the right outcome really happened. So those that don't know, Koke obviously became world champion. So congrats, Koke, all the same, with that win. Angel Inostroza was involved in this, and obviously Takuma Miyazono was also involved in this. So we're going to go through this step by step, look at different aspects of it, what actually happened, because there's a few incidents along the way. So there's 3 total incidents. And yeah, we'll review each one. And should a penalty be applied or should they not have been applied? So let's jump into it now. So here we are with the last lap then. Koke in the lead on that harder compounder tyre. We have Inostroza on the soft compounder tyre in P2 and Miyazono on the hard tyre in P3. So it's between these 3 with Inostroza and Lopez being basically the contenders to take the overall championship. So down here, we're expecting that slipstream to really take effect, essentially. We know what the X2019 car is like. When you have slipstream like this, it really goes on, and here you can see that. Koke goes defensive on that right-hand side, which is what you expect. Inostroza goes down the left-hand side. There's a slight tap there. We'll come back to that in just a second. We come into this moment here, where Koke runs wide there, Lopez runs wide, and there's a huge contact there. That's all one big incident. And as we go through this left-hander, we then have Inostroza in the lead on the softer compounder tyre, and then Lopez dives down the inside, and there gets the move done and continues on out. So Koke then into the lead against Inostroza as they go through this faster section, and Koke is going to take the victory there over Inostroza, and that's how Koke became the world champion. But we're just going to pause it there. So it literally under investigation, top right. So we know these results aren't final when they cross the line. There was absolute carnage in all the chats about what happened, who deserves what, etc., etc. So as I say, I'm going to put my head on now in terms of stewarding, etc., and have a look at the penalties. And there's 3 incidents here, and technically it's actually 4 incidents when you look at it a little bit more. So we're going to look at each incident individually. We're going to slow it down. The first one being on the back straight. Okay, so if we just go to about here, well, actually we'll go a bit further back. We'll go to here. We'll just slow it down as well, down to about 0.5 here. So Inostroza in the slipstream right now, okay, heading towards the back of Lopez in the X2019. Now, Koke's in the middle of the road here. Instantly goes right, shows what he wants to do there. Inostroza has to go to the left-hand side. Now, at this moment in time, we're going to pause it here. You can see they're about to exit the tunnel. They're in the braking zone. Koke, you can see he's braking down on that bottom right-hand side here. You can see that there. And we've also got Inostroza, which you can see is braking here as well. So there's a slight tap going into this corner, which is significant in itself because we know Miyazono ends up in P2 from this corner. Now, that is an issue already in my books. There's an incident here, and the stewards get alerted to this. So for those that don't know, in the background, the stewards do get alerted to contacts in incidents. I don't know how severe an incident has to be for them to be alerted. Like, this is definitely just like a slight contact. But even going through here, okay, there's a contact there. We see that it forces Inostroza wide, and Miyazono gets up into P2 there. We're just going to stop that again. Now, that is significant in all part of this, and I want you to keep that in mind. So for me, that is just a warning for now because there is slight contact. Lopez didn't have to come across that far, could have stayed on the inside. Inostroza was going to get that position anyway, because on the outside on that corner, it's very dirty and it's hard to maintain a position or even get that position. It was always going to be Lopez's corner. However, it's still significant because it caused Inostroza to lose a position. And I do believe that Inostroza probably would have kept that position if there wasn't the slight tap there. So that would have been a warning for me personally. Nothing insane, okay? Let's look at this next bit. Because Lopez said Miyazono hit him into this corner here. Now, we know Lopez goes wide, so I'm just going to pause it there, okay? So, I'll use my mouse here. Lopez is already heading to this wall and is going to hit it now irrespective. Miyazono is in the middle here. He's obviously going for the cutback at this moment in time. Inostroza on the softer compounder tyre. We have to always keep that soft tyre in mind. He's going for an even more of a cutback case with a very tight line leaving that corner. Let's slow this down a tiny bit more here. So as they come through here, Koke hits the wall, goes into Miyazono. Inostroza then Miyazono goes into Inostroza. But there's a second bit of the story to look at with this. Now let me load that second part of the story up. So we need to get to here. Now, I want you to pay attention to Inostroza now because we're about to see the incident again, okay? So they're coming through here, which is fine. And you can see the contact there. Now, we do get a separate angle here. I want you to pay very close attention to this. Look at this. You can see everything that happens here. Now, there's a contact there as Inostroza then loses it at the same time. We're going to have to take this even slower, really, to really take note of this. So, how slow can I go? 0.12, was that messed up? Not too sure. So, on Inostroza here, we can actually see on the throttle there, we can just see that. Not full throttle, though. Actually comes off the throttle when he starts to lose the rear end, and Miyazono ends up in the back of Inostroza. Now, this is a very difficult one to judge. Because to me, one of the problems about this incident is this point here. Koke is hitting the wall. Now, if Inostroza loses it, which he's just catching it right now, does he still pit maneuver Miyazono? Does he still do that? And that's the bit that I think is very critical to this incident. I really do believe that. So you notice there, if we go back a bit further here, let's watch this again. Comes through here. Let's have a look at Koke. Koke bounces off the wall into Miyazono, and it's a case of everybody being sandwiched there. They really are sandwiched. I would put... the problem is, there's multiple things to blame for that. Now, Koke said Miyazono hit him going into that corner. Now, if that happened, then I don't believe this is a penalty because it's Miyazono's initiated the contact and caused the contact throughout that incident. That meant that Inostroza was just in a place, wrong time. Now, Koke says that in the conference. I'll just put that on now so you definitely have clarity on that.
Still, I felt a contact from, I think, Miyazono behind me in the last corner of Sector 2, and I almost lost it. Due to that, I lost the position to Angel.
Then, second of all, if Miyazono doesn't hit Koke and Koke goes out wide, is that then Inostroza's fault? He loses the car. So you would argue, potentially, yes, it is Inostroza's fault. Therefore, a penalty needs to be applied because Miyazono loses out significantly here. And this is a bit I'm struggling on. I'm really struggling on. Because to me, it probably is a penalty. You know, it's your car. You have to take control of it. If you lose control of the car and take somebody out, in my opinion, that is your fault. You've lost control of your own car. Therefore, a penalty needs to be applied. So, if Miyazono hits Koke, I don't believe a penalty should be applied there because Miyazono instigated that entire incident by hitting Koke in the first place, forcing him out wide, forcing this real Constantina effect in terms of the incident. If Koke's ran wide, then I believe Inostroza should have backed off enough and just let off a little bit more. And then I believe Inostroza then is at fault. And I do believe a penalty should be applied then to Inostroza if that's the case. But it's a very interesting call, and I don't have the other angle there to be able to see that. You can definitely clearly see going through this. If we look at some of the inputs here of Inostroza, we can see as well that he lets off the throttle, so you can definitely see he's losing control of the car. As we come through here, watch this. You can see the throttle. Come on. And then you can just see the car lose itself. So he lets off. And then there's the contact there. But it's the same time as the sandwich. And it's all to do with whether Miyazono actually, to me, contacted Koke first going into that corner. Because if that happened, personally for me, then I don't believe it should be a penalty for Inostroza. If it didn't happen, then it should be. And it should be... What kind of penalty? I don't know. 3-second penalty probably, because that's what they were giving out throughout this throughout the event. Right, let's jump back to the final incident, because that was obviously the big talking point, but I believe that one is also a big talking point. Okay, so we've returned to the action where Inostroza is now in the lead. We can see Miyazono in the distance there, spinning around, actually trying to catch the car. And we have Lopez here behind. So Inostroza at the moment in the driving seat here. Remember, Inostroza is on the soft compounder tyre. It has more grip. You're going to see that as we leave this corner now, okay? So we're just going to play this through. We're going to keep at that 0.25 pace. Now, obviously, Koke is going to get the initial run through the corner. Inostroza's had to take a tighter line. But watch this. This is significant, okay? Inostroza had to take the tighter line. Initially lost lots of time. Now, look at the time here. So Koke's on the grass as well. 0.329 here in terms of gap difference between Lopez and Inostroza. So... as that gap now starts to increase, 0.338, 0.346. Now I'm going to pause it here. So that gap is increasing. So Inostroza's got the advantage here, okay? Going into this corner, Inostroza has the advantage. Higher speed entering the corner, therefore is ahead and pushing further ahead. So Koke has to go for an even bigger dive than if he had the advantage in the first place. So if I'm Inostroza, I am not expecting a move at this point. I'm accelerating away from the car behind. I have superior grip. At no point in Gran Turismo have I ever thought, okay, the person who's on harder tyres behind me, he can outbrake me. At no point have I ever thought that at all, ever, in the history of Gran Turismo. It's not happened. And if it has, please send me a clip of it, because I would never believe that. So, Inostroza doesn't believe, at the moment, that Lopez is going to go for that move, which is why Inostroza takes the normal line. Now, I don't know what camera angle Inostroza uses. I want to say bonnet cam, but it could be bumper. Only Inostroza can confirm that. So we'll head into this all the same. So Koke now has gone for that move. Now, I'm just going to pause it here. If Inostroza uses bumper cam, he can see this move. And I've had an argument with the stewards before at Gran Turismo events that if you're in any other camera other than bumper cam, you cannot see this happening. You really can't see this happening, and you do not expect it. And they don't give penalties based on that. And I think it's significant because if you can't see it, it's not your fault. You know, having the rear view camera should be on all camera angles and it would stop some of these issues happening, but it's not. So I would argue there is an issue there in that sense. So Inostroza is going for the normal racing line here. Koke's absolutely just sent it, right? Very tight line, much faster speed. And there's a first contact there, okay? We just saw that first contact between Koke and Inostroza. First contact, that slows Koke down enough to be able to take the corner. If Koke doesn't do that, I think he ends up at the white line, personally. And yes, there would still be some contact, but if Inostroza could see it, but it'd be a lot less. But I think Koke would have ended up at the white line, not where he is now. Now, they do not have contact at the moment. No contact, no contact, no contact. And then there's more contact here. Now, Koke, to me, is on the throttle at this point, pushing Inostroza wide, using Inostroza as a wall to get round the corner. It's like using a barrier to get round the corner. You know, like the wall riding that is banned in Gran Turismo? That's what it feels like there. He's leaning on Inostroza, that entire second part of that corner. So I said there's 4 points of contact here. We had the exit of the first tunnel. We had the major incident where the three cars come together. We then had the first point of contact in the tunnel, and then the second point of contact towards the exit of the tunnel where Koke, to me, is leaning on Inostroza to try and get the best advantage. Remember, the more he can accelerate, the more a chance of winning, essentially. He's basically getting extra grip from Inostroza's tyres from being on the outside. And that is significant to me. And that, to me, is where the penalty should come into play because there's 2 points of contact. Okay, first move, he went for it, okay? He went for it. And, hey, if I'm in Koke's position and, you know, it's the last lap, your championship on the line, literally, you make this move, you could be the champion. I think everybody would try and go for the move, irrespective of the tyre compound. It is what it is. And then it's up to the stewards then to penalise if it's not significant. That first move, significant. You got to remember, Koke had a contact leaving the first tunnel, which to me is a warning. So Koke, in the space of, I don't know how many corners is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corners, has now had 3 contacts with Inostroza. 3. And 1 with Miyazono. But we don't know whether that was Miyazono into Koke first, or, you know, Koke going wide and then it all sandwiching up. So to me, there's a penalty at this point. If you've had 3 contacts, that to me is enough to warrant a penalty. Remember, this is a non-contact sport, racing. The only one that is contact in racing is rallycross, I believe, and obviously demolition derbies and all that stuff. But rallycross, we're not doing rallycross, we're doing actual racing here. There would be significant damage at this point, I think, with all the cars, bearing in mind all the incidents that have happened. I think that 3rd contact, personally, should warrant the penalty. The second one, I'd be very like this. And obviously, the first one would be a warning. I've already said that. So to me, there should be a penalty here. And now I'm going to explain, in addition to why there should be a penalty, because earlier in the race, they issued a penalty for the exact same move. The exact same move. And this is without prior contacts. There may have been a little bump drafting here and there. But obviously, this is significant. How can you penalise one move earlier on, which is the exact same move as this, and not penalise this? That is where my problem is. There's consistency issues in real life in terms of Formula 1 and all the other racing areas where people are like, well, why for one person or why for one team do they get one thing, and then the next race, another team does it and they don't get a penalty, or vice versa. I think that's the critical part of this. Now, I fully respect the stewards. I'm actually friends with the stewards. I know them. But I must admit, I'm very frustrated with this because it's about the consistency, and I think a lot of people will pull up on this a little bit more as we go into it. Let me pull up the clip then of the incident and the penalty that was applied. So here we are with the incident then. So Yamanaka leaves the corner. This is the exact same. Look, Karatsa's on that line. Yamanaka down the inside, taps the rear of Karatsa, and then carries on. And you actually notice he's taking a similar line to Koke in terms of the exit as well. That is the exact same move. Exact same, okay? There's no difference at all. No difference. And in fact, what tyres were they on? Let's just have a look at the tyre difference here. In fact, it's even worse because they're on the same tyre compound. So it's the same principle in a nutshell. Look, come into here. It's the exact same. Yamanaka's gone for that inside. Karatsa's already there. There's a slight tap on the rear. It forces Karatsa around. So you could argue, actually, the fact Koke hit the sort of middle to front of Inostroza's car saved him. It saved him. However, it's the exact same move. Therefore, it should be the exact same penalty. Let's have a look at what that penalty was. So we join here Miyazono in the pit. So it's a little bit after. And coming out the pits now. And there you have it. Yamanaka plus 3-second penalties. So that to me is slam dunk. Same as Koke. It should be 3 seconds. I'm sorry to say it should have been 3 seconds. Now, all respect to Koke as well. Congratulations to Koke. I say, in the same situation, I would have probably tried something as well myself to become Nations Cup world champion is pretty nuts, really, in the grand scheme of it. It really is nuts. But to me, it was the exact same move as Yamanaka. Yamanaka got a 3-second penalty. Koke should have got a 3-second penalty. And I think that's the slam dunk of it all, really. The fact that that is a 3-second penalty. It's the exact same move. There is no difference to the move. It's the exact same. And how does one not get a penalty and one does? And you can feel, and you can definitely see why Inostroza was so mad and angry at the time, because essentially it's not consistency, and consistency is key with everything. Literally, if one person gets a penalty for it, everybody should get a penalty for it. And the other thing I really dislike is the fact that now people have seen Koke get away with it, and I mean that with all respect to Koke. Now people have seen it. This is now going to start happening in daily races. The same thing happened when Verstappen pushed Hamilton off the circuit, okay? And I'm not going to get into a Verstappen-Hamilton debate here. It's just the fact that when something happens in Formula 1, let me put it this way. When something happens and people don't agree with it, or people agree with it for whatever reason, pushing people off, not leaving a space, or whatever it might be, people mimic that in games because obviously it's a racing simulator. People want to race. So they go, well, Hamilton's done this or Verstappen's done that. I'm going to copy them. I'm going to now not leave a space. I'm going to dive down the inside and just absolutely plow into somebody. The same thing is going to happen here. And this is what frustrates me a little bit with all of this. But to me personally, just to summarize, the 3-second penalty Yamanaka gets right there is the 3-second penalty Koke Lopez should have got at the end. And I think that's the critical thing apart of this. The only reason Koke didn't get it is, for me, because he hit the middle to front of Inostroza's car rather than the rear. But it doesn't matter where you hit it. It's the actual action that happens should be the cause of the penalty. And remember, Koke did, well, there was 4 contacts in that 5-corner space. You got the exit the tunnel, which I'd give a warning for, at most, for that, to be honest with you, because it did cost Inostroza position. We've no idea what happened with Miyazono and Lopez into that left-hander that then caused the sandwich. You could argue Inostroza gets a penalty there of 3 seconds because Miyazono spins. But again, I think if Miyazono causes the incident, so initially hitting Koke, then Inostroza doesn't. If he doesn't, then Inostroza probably does. Now you're probably going, well, why is it one or the other? Well, I don't feel like somebody should get a penalty for somebody instigating an incident in the first place. It'd be like somebody battering somebody off, spearing back on, you hitting them, and you get a penalty because you hit them coming back on. Don't think that's fair. So the Inostroza one is definitely sort of like 50-50. It all depends on what happened with Miyazono, because if there was contact there, Inostroza doesn't get a penalty. But the incident in the tunnel, so the first contact, the dive, that is a penalty. We've seen that with Yamanaka. And you could argue there's some form of rubbing happening there where Koke is leaning on Inostroza on the exit because there's 4 contacts. Remember, there's 2 in that last corner before it all settles down. So the first one is the penalty. The second one, is it a penalty? I don't know. So for me, it's a penalty. Let me know your thoughts on this. For me, the fact Yamanaka got one, Koke gets one. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. Something very, very, very different. I thought I'd look at it a bit further. Obviously, being victim to a controversy in the Monaco World Finals. I know how it feels for Miyazono. I know how it feels for Inostroza. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And mine was only for P3, I think it was. And it was with teammates. So being on your own is obviously even worse in that situation. But oh my word, it killed me with that Audi incident, because I like literally, we'd planned the strategy. Strategy worked well. Teammates had worked so hard. And then I had to push hard in my stint. And I worked so bloody hard. And then the last hairpin, literally just getting that tap on the rear, killed me. Honestly, I've never been so, like, I get memories of it. I'm just like, oh my word, I wish. And I know Inostroza and I know Miyazono will have that same feeling. It's horrible. I do believe it's a penalty, personally. And I'll say that is going to be it. If you did enjoy this, please do get a like, folks. Subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the latest content, both Gran Turismo and Assetto Corsa Competizione. There are 2 videos there to check out. Please do check them out. But as I say, that is it for me, folks. Au revoir, farewell, goodbye, and I hope to see you in another video or live stream very soon.